welcome everyone to live coverage of the first GOP presidential debate of the 2024 season. I am super excited today to be joined by two of my favorite people. Of course, you know him, you love him, Benjamin Reddick, A Darker Perspective, and Miss Olga Maria, Libertarian Party Chair of Vermont, one of my favorite people, one of the wittiest women that I know, looking good with the curls and the new haircut, looking fabulous. I love it. All right, you guys, we are, first of all, anybody out in the audience who's watching, if you can hear the shouting in the background,
that's the debate.
It is really live coverage.
So, yeah, we're backstage.
It's super live.
That's them preparing.
There are no children being murdered at my house, is all I'm saying. As many people know, we do have, Benjamin and I live in a place where people get trained. We actually live in a studio. It's one of the benefits that we derive. Benjamin does stunts and fight choreography. And so there's actually a Taekwondo class happening on the other side of the wall right here. So normally we come at you when there's not class going on and you can't hear the screaming in the background. But it's good. It's really funny. I'm curious.
It's appropriate.
Can you guys hear that? I'm just curious. If you can hear that, put it in the chat. I am in a new space. We're in a new space and we're getting all the kinks worked out, you guys. So there's going to be a couple times here or there I'm going to walk off the screen. You'll still be able to hear me. And I've got my lovely co-hosts, handsome and lovely, who are going to be here chatting with me. So if it's awkward, sorry, y'all. That's what it is. I believe we are live on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube all at one time. Nice. Benjamin, it looks like Rumble worked.
Yep, looks like
it. So my update, even though I did it before we did the live stream, it worked?
Yes.
Or did you fix something?
It looks like it did it on its own, not me.
Okay. Rumble, you guys, great platform.
Yeah.
We actually have made a few cents off of our videos there so far, which is different than YouTube.
It's easier to get monetized there.
It is a little bit of a learning curve. They are making it better all of the time. So just if you watch any YouTuber regularly, go check them out on Rumble. See if they're on Rumble. The more users migrate over there, the better the software is going to get, the better the platform is going to get. So I just really encourage my users, my listeners, my viewers, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, go over to Rumble, like the channel, follow us there, watch us there, and look for your other favorite content creators there. Watch
like
them
me.
on Rumble
I'm
instead.
on Rumble.
Oh,
Latina Libertarian is on Rumble. Yeah.
Excellent. A Darker Perspective. Have you gotten any videos up there yet, or have you just been on Twitter?
Who are you asking?
I think there's a couple up there somewhere.
Is
under
there?
The channel Generally Irritable.
All right, under Generally Irritable. We're actually building our own channel on Rumble. So we're going to be hosting Miss Olga, the Latina Libertarian, A Darker Perspective. We're actually looking for other folks who want to produce news and content to be hosted under the Generally Irritable banner. The bigger we make the channel, the greater the reach that we'll have. So basically, we're trying to turn Generally Irritable into like a news network. So if you're a content creator and you want some help getting seen, definitely check us out over there. Let's see, are we back from commercial break for the debate yet? No, no, we're still talking about other things over there
I
on
wonder what kind of
this.
commercials it has. Is it like pharmaceutical or Raytheon? That would be good to know.
Right now, it's coverage from Hawaii.
Oh, well. Did you guys see our dear leader, I mean President Biden in Hawaii? Did you see that disaster?
Oh my God, him falling asleep, you mean?
Not
At the,
him falling asleep and then just speaking incoherently and saying things that make no sense.
yeah,
And
Trying to tell a
then,
story about himself again.
yeah,
right, about
yep,
his kitchen fire that lasted 20 minutes,
Yeah.
yeah.
just completely discombobulated. And then there's a clip of him. It looks like his face is falling off. Like everyone's trying to figure out like what is the malfunction. But just clearly, just giving so much confidence to us.
Anybody who thinks he's going to make it to the next election, let alone 4 more years, I don't know why the Democratic Party. I can understand that they don't want a lame duck president this early on, but they're going to have to invoke the, what is it, 25th Amendment?
25th Amendment.
They are going to have to invoke the 25th Amendment. Who's
Isn't he
any
already a lame
bets?
duck? Like,
Anybody
isn't he
taking
already?
bets?
Yeah, of how long it lasts. Is it like, so what do you mean when you say lame duck?
So what it means to be a lame, have a lame duck is basically it's usually like the end of a presidency where the president has already been in office for 8 years, and they're on their way out. And so there's no real impetus to do anything that he says
Okay.
or cooperate with
Well,
him.
he was a
Um,
lame duck on January 20th, like 20,
well,
20. I mean,
I, I
he
I
started
wi-
off that way, I feel like.
I wish. No, dude, all
He
those
ain't running
executive
anything.
orders. Oh,
Right.
well,
Well,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I
I see
mean?
what you're
It's
saying.
so clear at this point that he is not the one calling the shots. He doesn't even know like where he's going. If he wasn't such a horrific politician for 50, plus years that he's been a statist, bureaucrat creating horrific laws that have incarcerated so many people and
Yeah.
wars and God knows what else. I would have empathy for him as a human being. But then I remember, I catch myself. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Karma's catching up with
Oh,
him.
right. You're a dirtbag. Got it.
Yeah,
I
you're an
forgot.
awful person. Yeah.
That is so true. Okay. So if you are watching Brad Broyles, my man, good to see you, sir. Welcome to the live stream. It's been a minute, you guys. Many of you know I've been working on another project. It's called Of the People with Robert Chernin. It is a radio show and podcast, so that has taken up a bunch of time. Also, my accounting firm, you guys, we've been running around like crazy building that, hiring staff, doing a bunch of things. So generally Irritable, we've been doing a bunch. It's been behind the scenes. We're going to be doing a lot more. We're going to be doing a lot more on Man on the Street, live coverage, different things coming up. And I figured the live debate was a great opportunity to start getting back into the live videos. Who out there watching, put in the chat whatever platform you're watching on. Tell us who you like so far. If you're ride or die for Donald Trump, if there's anybody on the stage tonight that you're interested in. Who was it? Burgum hurt himself yesterday. Got injured himself playing basketball yesterday, and was maybe going to be on the debate stage in a wheelchair today. Did you guys hear about this?
Is Chris Christie like seriously on there? I thought that was a joke.
No, oh no, Chris Christie is definitely on the debate stage.
He is a glutton for punishment.
I just don't understand.
Well, he's famous, so it's all that matters to some people.
I guess. Pence, Mike Pence.
He's polling. Chris Christie, I think, is at like 14% in New Hampshire. So
That's crazy. That's funny.
I think it's because he's from the Northeast, so he has more name recognition than.
I think it's because New Hampshires have a wicked sense of humor and they just like to put stuff. I don't think that's serious at all.
How much? Okay, Olga Benjamin, how much stock do you actually put in the pollsters in these polls?
Not
What do you
much.
think?
I don't really
I
put a
don't
bunch
at
of weight
all.
into them.
Nothing.
They like
None?
because you could literally just poll 20 people. And that's
Well,
the thing with these numbers, right?
yeah.
Like I guess it depends who does it, and it could be done in such a way that, it's just a manipulation. And then so many people, like, we're made to believe that we have to put stock and listen to this type of, the 14% or 76%, as if that actually means anything, as if they asked every single person. So they could be in a certain neighborhood that has a specific demographic and poll there, and that's just going to completely change your numbers.
Well, and
So I don't take any stock in that.
what I've heard too is that conservatives in particular, so conservative libertarians, when I say conservative, I consider libertarians conservatives in that we're trying to like conserve liberty. You know what I mean? Conserve the Constitution or whatever. So I sometimes use that, word interchangeably. Basically, anybody who's into liberty opposed to
Tyranny.
not liberty. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Authoritarian.
So conservatives, libertarians are notorious for not answering polls honestly, because we automatically distrust pollsters.
Yeah.
We inherently trust the institutions and pollsters, and you just sort of proved it with what you said. You're like,
No.
you guys like,
Especially
no.
New Hampshire. Oh,
No.
no, I don't take that.
So people will just say what they like think they want to hear, or they'll just say nonsense or whatever.
People are still posting the Chris Christie memes of him on the damn beach chair. So like no one takes him seriously. You remember that meme? I mean, it was literally him like in a beach chair
Oh
in
my
in the
God.
middle of like the pandemic by himself. Like you got to look that up
Okay, hold on, I'll look it up.
and share the image.
Okay, Chris Christie.
Just put Chris on the beach by himself.
Right now, I'm watching Asa Hutchinson, who I've never
I've
heard.
heard of him.
Haven't heard
So
much.
is there a
So
way to is there a way to share it on the screen here so we can see?
let me take a look here.
Wait, share which thing? Asa Hutchinson?
The debate, no? Or the debate's not on yet?
See, I'm still not seeing it. Are you?
I
Benjamin?
just sent you the links in the chat,
And the debate
Yeah.
is going on right now.
so
I'm still.
I don't know if it's
I'm
gonna let
still
us
showing
show
the
it, but
news. I'm still showing the news.
Oh, I see. Governor injured ahead of GOP debate. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. It's funny because we're at the stage now where there's like so many.
After the deadliest U.S.
There we
wildfire
go.
in more than a century, Hawaii's
Oh,
governor
they're still on
and
news.
White House officials said that climate change amplified the cost of human
can you hear it?
error.
Is it coming through my speakers?
And
Or
a
no?
tropical storm
Yeah.
hit California for the first time in 84 years. The ocean hit 101 degrees off the coast of Florida. And in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest broke records nearly 50 years old.
So Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation has a question for you.
Polls consistently show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start
Doesn't
on
care
this
about with,
it. A show of hands. Do
Did
you
he ask that
believe
right?
in human behavior
All right.
is
I think
causing
so.
climate change. Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children.
Raise your-
Let's have the
raise
debate.
your
I mean, I'm
hand.
happy to take it to start. Alexander,
So do you want to raise your hand or not?
Oh,
Who's
all
jumping
right.
in? Is that DeSantis
All
or?
right, DeSantis.
first of all,
Yep.
one of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida,
Oh,
you gotta
Pence
be
giving him that
activated. You gotta
stare.
be there.
Yeah.
You got to be present. You got to be helping people.
Got,
who are
got the
doing this.
stink eye.
And here's the deal.
So is that a yes or is that a yes? Is that a
Is
hand
Trump
raised?
even on the stage?
Oh God, no, he didn't show up. He was. He said he was showing up.
Let us be honest as Republicans.
Oh, here goes
I'm the
Vivek.
only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change
Ooh,
agenda is
what?
The climate
He
change
called
There you
him a
go.
super PAC puppet.
He just interrupted Ron DeSantis. They're letting him just interrupt each
anti-carbon
other
agenda
like
is
that.
the wet blanket on our economy. And
Who's
so the reality is
screaming
more
in the
people are
background?
dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and
Ooh.
paid? Hold on. Listen.
No,
Wait, hold on.
Oh wow.
Oh,
This is going to turn into MMA. Oh,
Oh my God! Here we go. Here's Chris Christie.
get the beach chair.
And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing in stage tonight.
Amateur.
Go back to the beach.
Just like you did to
The
Obama.
same type of amateur.
And you'll have to just like you did to Obama too. Give me that
The
damn
same
hug.
type of amateur.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you
So,
bought and
Brett,
paid
what I
for?
would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Nice. But predictable.
Okay, hey Benjamin, I just sent you the
Clean air,
beach chair.
clean water,
I don't know if we
wanna
can
see
share
that taken
more
care
than
of.
one thing
but
at
there's
a
a right
time.
way to do it.
We'll have to
And the
get that
right way to
later.
do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their
Oh
emissions.
yeah, tell
That's
tell
what our
China and
problem is.
India
And
that they
these
need to
green
lower
subsidies
their
that Biden
emissions
has
when
put
they're
in,
actually
How-
all he's done is
making
help
the
China.
products that we want
China,
to
because
buy
he
from
doesn't
them.
understand
Yeah.
all these electric
I
vehicles
wonder
that
how
he's
long
done,
before
what that does, half of the
they're declaring war on
batteries for
China.
electric
Let's
vehicles
see.
are made in China.
Can make this
And
we
so
can make
that's
this
not
a
helping the
drinking
environment.
game.
You're putting money in China's pocket, and Biden did that.
Can we
so
pause
first
it?
of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is
That's what.
these
Or should we
subsidies-
just? What do you guys think for the
She's
for the
like a wind-up
folks?
doll.
For the folks watching, should we pause it in between for the commentary, or do you just want us to talk over it like Mystery Science
I don't know.
Theater 3000?
I like the Mystery
I don't-
Science
I don't know
Theater.
if we had.
These are not working.
We
also
might
need
get
to take
our
on the
live stream
international
might get taken
world and say,
down. We
okay,
might get
India
a
and China,
strike
you've
for
gotta
playing
stop
it
polluting,
through.
and that's when we'll
I have
start
no
to deal
idea.
with
Scott,
climate
are you
change.
bought and paid for?
I mean, it's on Rumble.
Are you
So-
bought and paid
Fox
for?
News said that they were only going to allow people to play 4 minutes of the debate on their channel.
Why?
Affect their lives.
Because
That's
they want to
stupid.
control
Being
it.
childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. Number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real
Is the
for
quiet
kids
man
who
actually
were
gonna use his
devastated by
voice to
poverty,
jump in,
devastated by the
or-
challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If
I
we
just,
want
you
the
know, one of the
environment
things
to
I'm
be
really
better,
sick
we
and
all
tired
do,
of
the
listening
best thing
to
do
the
is to
GOP do is
bring our
blame
jobs home from
places
China.
like
If we
China
create
and
10
India
million new
for
jobs in our Made in
pollution
America
when
plan, we will
it's
have
they're
a better
literally
economy
creating
and
the
a better
products that
environment. Let me tell
we
you why I say-
want
Right.
and that we're purchasing. And so it's like you guys are blaming our own consumerism on other countries.
Yes.
If we were still making all of those things here, it would be us still that are the world's biggest polluters. But instead, we're
Who-
having it done overseas.
Well, who was it that just made the point that was it Vivek? I don't remember, but like it's true. The policies, the green policies that are being implemented in are actually creating more, wreaking more
Oh
havoc
yeah.
than what they're claiming.
Oh yeah.
That was
Did
Vivek,
you?
yeah.
Yeah, they just came out. Actually, who was it? Somebody just came out with a new story. There's some whale in the Northeast that is being essentially, you know, killed off. The species of whale is going extinct because of the wind farming in the ocean.
Oh, wow.
So with all the pile drivers and the sonar and the sonic stuff that they're doing in order to build these wind farms out in the ocean, they're
Yeah.
killing off whales and
Not to mention like the
marine
birds, the
life.
disruption. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not better. Oh, did you pause it, Benjamin?
Yeah.
Do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy. I talk slow. So America, that was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The
Yeah,
places
by
where they are
outsourcing.
continuing to increase,
Yeah.
Africa,
That's how.
950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion.
Now they're
Why
gonna
do we
go
put
with the
ourselves at a
overpopulation.
disadvantage?
Oh, definitely their
Devastating
fault.
our own
Stop
economy.
having babies.
Let's bring our
Stop
jobs
Oh,
home.
that Bill
We have
Gates'
a lot of
favorite
great
words.
topics to
Stop
get to.
having
We do. We
babies.
thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming up next, the candidates will weigh in on what could be a defining issue in the 2024 campaign. The first Republican debate continues moments
I think
away.
it's hysterical that Trump is like, I ain't showing up nowhere
He's like, I'm just not going to be there.
I'm just gonna ride
not
this
gonna
out.
show up.
and be the Democratic chosen candidate.
Okay, let's
We're going to stand up for the
You can-
unborn in
you can
Washington, D.C.
mute
And
that.
if you cannot do that, you should not be the nominee for the Republican Party. This is a defining
audio. Okay. So, while we're on break, we'll just mute the screen audio.
Yeah.
So, not on the debate stage tonight is Donald Trump. He thinks that he's got it in the bag, so he doesn't have to show up. He's going to let
Well, I'm sure
the-
he's busy with his legal team, right? With like all the continued.
all the different
Indictments
that
and whatever.
he's got.
Yeah.
And then who else?
Plus, they're going to be
Larry
talking about
Elder.
him. They're going to be talking about him no way, anyways. So
I'm curious how much Donald Trump. I feel like we should have a drinking game for every time somebody mentions Donald Trump.
Donald.
We
should
could
have a
drink. We could drink seltzer. Yeah. If we were drinking alcohol, I think like we don't want to do that to you, Erica, and I
drink
am
a-
not a
just drink a-
drinker, and
drink a
we would
light
just
beer.
be. I would be like, we would just be sick because we could watch either a GOP, it could be a GOP debate, or it could be the DNC, and it would just be like Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
I mean, you
Donald
can
Trump.
get like some Bud Light or something and be fine because it's not like it's going to do anything no matter how much of it you drink anyways. So, as I've said many times before, if it's below
fake.
about 5% alcohol content, I have little interest in imbibing it
Seltzer.
unless it's
Seltzer.
something good.
Yeah, that's what is it? What did we see the other day, Benjamin? That we went to this new joint that sells freaking burgers that are cooked in the backyard,
Yeah.
and there was a non-alcoholic.
Yeah, Texas Supply Company had a non-alcoholic IPA, and I was like, that's horrendous idea.
weird.
Yeah,
That's not weird. That's disgusting. It's the
Gross.
worst of both worlds. You don't get a buzz. I mean, the only good thing about IPA is the fact that it has higher alcohol content than your traditional light beers and lagers.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
take the alcohol content, it's just nasty for no reason.
That's so
Nasty for
funny.
no reason.
That is so funny.
Freaking
That's what
disrespectful.
I got. I got a non-alcoholic sangria, and I'm like, oh, so it's fruit juice.
Yeah.
Nice.
This dude right here, I don't know what's going on with his face.
It's
I'm not-
disturbing.
Brett Bear.
I'm not into
It's-
it.
What do you mean?
It's the
What's wrong with
Botox.
Brett
Is it
Bear?
the Botox? Is it the
It's Botox, baby.
His face looks fake. He looks slightly like mildly surprised.
Man, it
most of the
only
time.
took us like how many minutes, and now we're at the reptile people. Like
Oh
where
my God, you guys.
it happened. Woo!
Okay, hold on. What's next?
Starting.
Yeah.
6-week abortion law as well, especially
wow.
the impact on
Right
women
to
suburban
abortion.
voters across this country.
Let's get into it.
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but
Okay.
because my
All right.
husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children, so I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we
All right.
need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every woman and man.
What are you
Now it's been
talking
put in the
about?
hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an
I
abortion?
mean, I think
Let's
these are all
treat this
reasonable
like
things. I
sounds
think
great.
they should also
respectful issue
be
that it is,
decided
and
at the
humanize
state.
the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
But again, it's just like the, yeah, like, dude, that Botox.
You signed a 6
Well,
His
here's the
eyes.
thing. Here's the thing, though. Even when they're talking about that, at the same time, we've seen that people who look at, the right to abortion as a women's right issue, when would anybody be okay with just having some of their rights? There are people who believe that it is okay to abort a baby up until the point of birth.
Yeah.
I don't know how. There's no middle ground with a person like that.
Even after, clearly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
A lot of them still believe that. So when you have that kind of a disparity in belief, like, you're gonna have a conversation about what is life at some
Yeah.
point, and scientifically land somewhere to try to get those people to ease off of.
It's I mean, this is what's the zeitgeist, right, of the culture currently. And so and that's what when it comes to all of these like divisive issues like that are really like part of the culture. So they're trying to swim upstream at this point. The culture's already like downstream of this. Right? Because we've had these laws. Let's hear what DeSantis is going to say about it.
So he does.
week abortion ban in Florida. One of your biggest financial backers said that you need to, quote, shift to get moderates or you will lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the heartbeat of my
Senior,
oldest daughter in my
talking
wife's
point,
womb, and then saw the
culture of life.
sonograms of all three of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady
See,
in
and
Florida
that's where
named
they
Penny.
lost
She
people.
survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to allow abortion all the way up till birth, and we will.
It was, I tried, even after becoming a Christian, getting saved, I had tried to remain being pro-choice. And then Vermont, allowed abortion up to the point of birth, and then went as far as to remove personhood status from the unborn. And so, many people know there was a case where a woman got hit by a drunk driver, and the drunk driver only got charged with the DWI, not the death of the two unborn twins that died from her hitting the pregnant woman. And I just was like, okay, you've gone too far now. You've gone too far now. If the choice, if you're gonna make me choose all or nothing, then I'm going to say nothing. Like that was kind of the shift for me. It was like, this is too crazy. This is too wild. we have to be reasonable.
And honestly, I hear you, but at this level, this isn't even the conversation we should be having. The conversation then that we should be having is national divorce, because clearly right. Like, let regions have to figure out, like, Vermont's probably going to remain the same. And then, New Hampshire or other states, and, Texas or wherever, or Florida, they're going to be like, we don't want this. So, like, this is like the national divorce, because these are types of issues that I don't think we're ever going to get national consensus
Well, and I don't
on.
think that's why I just reject the national divorce thing. And that's why we're 50 United States of America, right? If Vermont wants to be insane, then Vermont can be insane, and then Florida can have a 6-week abortion ban. That is the point of having 50 states, right? If you don't like the policy, move. That's why Vermont has lost its ever-loving mind. That's why we're leaving Vermont. Like, I'm not giving you my money anymore. Right? $1 billion budget, all this nonsense. No, we're done. We're done. We're moving to a place where our rights are respected and where we think the governance is better.
But the problem is the size and the power of the federal government. So that's why, like, I definitely am like, I'm good with national divorce.
Well,
if places choose to do that,
here's some of the
a balkanization of the states. If
I would like to say that that's great, but then you just, if we had a national divorce, do you think that the people in the federal government would stop doing what they're doing?
No.
I don't know, because I think once you start to have, like, I mean, we're talking in just like such theoretical terms, right? But think about it. But but balkanization has happened in other places, and it's like, okay, like, they have their issues, but then at the end of the day, it's like, what's better? Peaceful separation and coexistence, and then we kind of figure that out, or we're going to continue this where it's just going to keep escalating to where, like, you literally have.
Well, that's
violence.
why I just think the federal government should be shrunk back to
need
where
get
it's
back
supposed to be.
People need to be smart enough to realize that the strong federal government is a problem for everybody, anyone who wants to express any one of their freedoms. Because if we break apart, then you're just going to have people crossing borders and saying, hey, we're going to let you come into our country to do X, Y, Z. I don't think it's going to...
Yeah,
I think it would be worse because right now there's at least like a belief that we're supposed to be the same country. If we broke all the way apart and did the national divorce thing, I think what would happen is you'd have people crossing country lines, and I think it would get more problematic.
Even weirder.
I think that we need both sides need to feel a tremendous amount of pain right now as a country, and then go, you know what, that whole federalism idea is pretty good. Maybe we should restore states' rights and stop messing with each other. I think that's the best route, but which one of the two is more likely, I have no idea, because people are being stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey,
let's see what's going.
Why don't we just let it play, and we can just mute the audio when we want to do commentary?
Yeah.
Because I think I want to hear more questions.
Would you be able to abide that?
The issue might be if we can't
first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state.
Right now.
And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment. In the Constitution, which the states created the federal government, not the other way around, it says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government, delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and liberty.
Is he North Dakota or South Dakota?
We can't have Republicans who fight for 50 years.
I think Kristi Noem is South Dakota.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Can you fast forward it to the next wherever we're up to?
Life conservative. I have 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you though, we must.
Are we still
fight
talking
for
about abortion?
Life.
Yeah. That's a
me.
bad pause.
It's not the best place for the thing to freeze.
Yeah, poor guy.
Is it freezing?
Yeah, it's not me.
Oh, okay. All right. It's just
I
gotta
got to tell
catch
you,
up.
though, we must fight for life.
Oh, he's stopping in the same expression.
Apparently he's stuck there.
Well, hopefully it'll get caught up. Tim Scott is an interesting character. I gotta say, it's been fascinating to listen to these guys.
After I
talk
gave my life
about
to Jesus
various
Christ
things.
as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a
That's
champion
interesting.
for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're
Going
my
hard
friend,
in the paint
but
for
consensus
Jesus.
is the opposite of
Yeah.
leadership.
Ooh.
When the Supreme Court returned this question to the
Senior
American people, they
senior
didn't just
citizen
send it to
Ken
the
Doll is
states only.
talking.
It's not a states-only issue.
Right?
It's a
Tell
moral
me you
issue.
don't see it.
And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a
It
champion
is.
for life
Grandpa
in
Ken.
the Oval
Yeah.
Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby
he has
is
very
capable
little.
of feeling
Wrong.
pain,
You
an
know,
abortion
one of
cannot
the
be allowed?
interesting
A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by
A unique question that I got asked by actually Guy Page during the election last year was, one of the things was we've been saying states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. And as far as abortion, and what he asked me was, but doesn't the federal government, or couldn't the federal government have a reason to define what life means? Not that we have a federal abortion ban or law that's passed in Congress, but actually to define life. And I was like, oh,
Is that the role of government? That's scary.
well, I know. So that's
But
the
I hear what
question,
you're saying, right? Because then it's illegal.
It says,
But in law, what does it
life,
say?
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So do we define life anywhere?
Right.
And I was like,
That's worth looking up. And that would have to be in law where it's defined. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is. And I wouldn't be surprised because our law is based on common law. So, I mean, you could, if you're looking at it from that perspective, but if we're just saying, oh, we want government to define life, then that's kind of scary. But I hear what you're saying in terms of like legal.
let's see what Chris Christie.
What's Chris Christie's
We're
ranting
talking
about?
guns now.
No, I think he's
Everybody.
ordering
In Christie's
his
administration,
dinner.
He would go to
No, he's
jail
talking
for
about
10
guns
years.
now.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does a President Ramaswamy do about guns?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is,
What
do
do
we
we
actually have the
do
spine
about
to do
guns?
it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think
Is that correlative, though?
we should.
I
As
don't know.
president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here, too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic, is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we
That's
really
true.
need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime
Can I
across
speak
this
on behalf
country.
of
Governor
the American
DeSantis,
people
really
here?
quickly.
Wow.
Governor DeSantis.
We don't have
good.
an identity crisis.
Yeah, but he's saying a
We're
lot
not
of
looking
words
for
without
a
really
national
saying
identity. The
anything.
American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic,
I don't even
hardworking
believe
people
that.
the world has ever
No.
known. We just
No.
need government as good as our
It's not
people.
true.
No.
Mike, I think the difference is you might have some others like you may have on the stage. It's more.
What's not true?
We're not a freedom loving. Like most people are like, yes, big daddy government, tell me to put stuff in my arm so that I can live. Like this
Yeah.
is They're
think
the complete tone deafness in a way.
I think at 80% vaccination rate, much of which was forced on the
Coerced, yeah,
American people,
absolutely.
Yeah, Mike
coerced,
Pence
for
is
sure.
lost.
You know, I mean, I love the idealism.
Right. But
You
it's a lot
know,
of empty words and like, oh, we have to have mental health. It's like, okay, that's not what. So now it's just like, okay, we have authoritarianism from the right. Lovely. Like,
yeah.
who's this appealing to? What's
Well,
DeSantis saying? I wish when we paused it, it would have like the subtitles. You know how sometimes that happens?
I was looking
This
for that. I
entire
don't see
country
those, which
has
is
ever
weird.
done anything about that. Me. When we had 2 of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone.
See, that's what Governor DeSantis is one of the only people up there that actually has a legitimate
We are gonna
record
go after all
of
these
conservatism.
people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country, and it will stop when I get into office.
I mean, even Mike Pence, who was governor of Indiana, like
Brett and Martha, I
they
just thought it was
they
interesting. You
had
asked a
places
question
with
about
the
the
highest
problems we're
murder
having
rate in the
big cities.
country.
Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps him get the crop off. There's accountability, there's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
I mean,
Governor Hutchinson?
I see.
Was former head of the DEA.
Take up your
I
whole
understand the
time.
drug crisis in America. And right
Oh,
now,
no, you
whenever
don't.
you look at the challenges in
You're
our
helping it.
inner city, there's 3 simple words that would be helpful. 1, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people, making sure
Aren't
that
we
we
talking
have
about guns?
the tools that are needed
Stopping
for
crime.
addiction counseling. That's what
He's
we
the head of the
expanded in
DEA,
Arkansas
like,
as well.
how
Whenever
much
you
have
look at
cartels
the
paid him? I'm
underlying
curious.
challenge
Wow.
of America, though, no one likes to see an America
sorry,
with
I
smash
just-
and
Wow.
grab.
Christy
in our
Wilson
inner
says
cities.
Trump
As
2024.
president of the United States, that will stop.
He ain't even
It
there.
starts at the top with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law,
No.
and it starts at the top with the president of
Partially.
the United States.
Kind of.
I mean,
No,
Not when
they're
it's
out of
been
order.
weaponized.
that
Yeah.
sounds good until you
But-
remember that they also got rid of a bunch of good law, like how many military personnel and police officer, border patrol type folks retired, resigned, left their position rather than be forced to take a medical experiment.
Yep.
And then who ends up being left?
Wait. When he says you have to respect, like when you're talking about respecting our justice and whoever, like respecting the law, got it. That's cool. So what about the people who, like you said, were forced to take the sauce?
Mm-hmm.
Were they supposed to respect the law then when they felt like it wasn't fair?
Well,
or it wasn't right?
and it's easy to, I mean, he says all these things, Drug Enforcement Agency. The agency shouldn't even exist, I don't think. Because, I'm not, drug addiction is horrible and it's horrific, but our whole approach is broken. And we lost the war on crime, and people like him probably facilitated that. So I just
Yeah.
feel like a lot of what he's saying is garbage. And
I
it's
think-
just like the talking points that they think people want to hear, but it's all the top-down authoritarian solution with the color crayons that you like.
Ooh,
But,
I do
you
think
know,
that, I do
because
think that,
isn't the Republican Party used to be the party of limited government? It's like, I haven't heard any of that.
yeah, I'm hoping someone will get to that. And I hear
Yeah.
so when you're looking at people like Mike Pence, what he was saying, we need a government that matches our people.
Have
you seen our people?
Have you?
Have you seen people?
I kinda-
heel toeing on people's cars and stealing things off of shelves and all this wild stuff that's going on. I'm like, that's not true. And people keep saying like, oh, it's government top down. No, it's not. It's families bottom up.
That does match the government. The government is stepping and shitting all over us and destructive, not only here but across the country. So absolutely, it matches.
Well,
You just have to be honest about it.
The corruption. How many times have we? The corruption. Look at how many times we found out that, 3-letter agencies like the DEA actually ended up selling cocaine on the streets. Corrupt officials were selling drugs, selling arms back to cartels or the American people.
But here's the thing. The base of all of that is families. If your families are weak, how is your country going to be strong? If your politicians are sourced from the families, how are you expecting them to get up there and be magical? That doesn't make any sense to me. The government's supposed to come alongside the families. That's why when Vivek was saying what he was saying, I'm like, I work with teenagers. We work with youth. What he said is real. That identity crisis thing people are going through, not knowing their purpose, identity, all that stuff, that's how you get recruited into gangs. That's how you get recruited into a bunch of foolishness that leads to chaos for everybody else around you. So it's cute to say we need a better government. I'm like, well, law enforcement does matter. Those sorts of things do have to matter. You need to have a metric by which people can get hit with a stick when they break the law and hurt others. You do need to have those things in place, whatever form you want that to take. But if you don't fix these kids coming up acting crazy, stuck on TikTok, thinking, doing OnlyFans because they think it's a good idea and it's a great career.
75% of fatherless homes.
You're not going to have good people to run anything in the future. This is going to continue to be bad.
As Benjamin and I say, people are trash and the government can never be trusted.
Get the book.
Get our copy of Reasons to Trust the Government today.
What's really like some great perspective is, I don't know if you guys have heard of Javier Milei. He is the Argentine front runner for the presidency, and he is an anarcho-capitalist libertarian, incredible. But it's fascinating when you listen to people outside of the United States. They understand really well like what the issues are, and so it's interesting to me like to hear these guys. They're just saying a bunch of stuff, but they're not really kind of speaking to the cultural thing. And one of the things that Trump did well was kind of speak to and this is what he's given a lot of credit for outside of the United States to people who are sick of socialism and Marxist ideology, because honestly, that's really kind of what it is. And so we're getting, we're looking at, we're kind of joking and stuff because the Democratic Party is like very open about it. But, the Republican Party is just trying to kind of, they're not, they want their form of big government. They want their form of big government solutions. Yes. And that's like, at the end of the day, you could talk about critique the culture all you want, but when you have a parasitic class of politicians that are making the government bigger, which is making more people impoverished, which is, really creating all this stuff and not allowing people the liberty and families to be economically viable. That leads to kind of all of this stuff. Really.
That's why I think it's both. That's why when he was Mike Pence was trying to talk over Vivek, I'm like, no, on the ground level, what he's talking about is we talk to teenagers who say these things.
Yeah, there's relevance.
Like, it is what is happening. However, also government is trash, right? So
it's too big.
Well, I mean, even like look
what they're doing.
The freaking headline on the stage: Fox News, Democracy 2024. Like, we don't have a democracy. Like,
but these are the buzzwords.
We don't want a democracy. Our founding fathers
We have
abhorred democracy
because
it was a scourge on the planet. Like, You know, so we can't even get, supposedly Republicans are supposed to be, you know, the conservatives and the arbiters of the blah blah blah. No, you're not. You're just like both sides.
So Christie's attacking Trump
are the
right now, for the
problem.
record.
Oh, let's listen. Oh, we missed the Trump bashing.
And, you know,
Can you rewind it a little?
this country,
I can remember.
booing
Should we? Is it
allowed,
worth it?
Yeah,
but
what's
it
the
doesn't-
question?
You know, the office has got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong,
Oh my
the
God.
conduct is beneath the office of
I guess we
President
should have
of the
expected
United
there to
States.
be a Donald Trump question and not just let's talk about the country and what Americans
And, you
care
know,
about right now.
This is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change
No
the
one
truth.
likes
I mean,
these
I don't
dudes.
understand what this debate crowd is.
I'd
Is
like
this
to
a
get in and
freaking?
respond. Let's
Are
just
we
stick
at a
to truth, okay?
basketball game?
President
Are
Trump,
we
I
at
believe,
a?
was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact.
Oh wow.
Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign
Is he
were not
not?
based on vengeance and grievance
Oh,
against one man.
oh, sick burn! Oh, sick burn!
Oh wow. Oh wow, wow, wow.
Without an iota of vision for this country,
I
they could
mean-
just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization.
That's
of
a good point.
That's facts.
Let me tell you
I'm sorry, 30 seconds covered.
Let me tell you something. Here comes Jersey.
You sit here in an answer.
Wow.
Here in an answer right
Golly.
No one likes you, Christy. Like, read the
Getting
room, dude.
smashed.
I mean,
sit
I
here
just
and
don't.
answer.
I don't like the crowd participation in the debate. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's good. This is what.
So listen.
Yep.
The more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So
Because
let's just get
what-
through this section.
That's it. Like,
Governor Christie.
you sit here talking about how you want to stand
Great,
up
then
for
just
the
won't
rule
clap.
of law
Yes.
and law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not
And-
true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not
It's
true.
very true. I read it,
Because
and
there's
I
a
know.
difference
Look,
between bad behavior and illegal
by the way,
behavior, Chris, and you as a
by the way,
prosecutor should know better.
Ooh,
you know what?
oh,
I
get
know a lot
burned.
There's
better.
a difference between
I
bad
know-
behavior. And
I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government except to put yourself forward
The
as a
interests of this
candidate
government.
tonight. And here's the thing. We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor. And I am not
Oh,
going to
when you were
bow
shutting
to
down the
anyone
bridge
when
from
we have
New
a
York
president of the
to
United
New
States
Jersey.
Yeah.
who disrespects the Constitution.
He's gonna get smashed.
He said,
get your MSNBC contributors.
he said,
Okay, hold on.
now-
The fact is these are
he
politicized
said,
indictments,
Martha,
and we have to call out the truth.
Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend.
Oh, that's not
suspend.
cool.
Didn't he do
Always
that?
stand up
Didn't
for
he
the
use, like, his
Constitution
powers to, like-
regardless of the political pressure.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question. I have another question. Hold on, you will. All right.
Spicy.
So, President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced
Oh, here we
hecklers
go.
on the campaign trail over his
Here we
actions
go.
on January
Now
the
we're gonna
6th.
hear Pence.
Silver
On that
Ken.
day, the vice
Spot.
president moved forward with the certification of the election.
He's getting Botox.
So do you believe that Mike Pence
He is the
did
most
the right thing? Senator
stone-faced,
Scott, do you believe he did the right thing?
poker-faced politician of
He did
all
the right
time.
thing. Number one. Number two.
I'm not sure Mike Pence is alive.
I know.
We should be
He's like-
asking
like
ourselves
Silver
a
Ken doll.
bigger question about
He's
the
a
weaponization
NPC.
of the Department of Justice.
Yes,
When I'm
he
president,
does
the
look
first
like-
thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland.
Ooh.
Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray. because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence
That is
in
wild.
our Department of Justice.
That's
Here's
terrible.
why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings.
That's
Oh my God,
it.
it's
There you
so
go.
true, you guys.
They're
Oh
called
my
domestic
gosh.
Well, it's all
terrorists.
the three-letter agencies.
But that's not
Shut down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
One of those interesting things when people say back the blue, I support law enforcement. It's like, okay, I mean, that sounds good, you guys, but that also includes the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ,
ATF.
that are clearly corrupted, clearly going after their political enemies. They're weaponizing even the IRS, for God's sake.
Well, and not only that, I mean, they're going against, just American people. I mean, right? Like there's so much
Exactly.
violation of our.
And so, how do you trust law enforcement when law enforcement is saying that Olga,
Of 2021.
standing up for her family or whatever is a problem, that you're a terrorist,
Right, or
moms
parents,
who don't,
yeah, parents going
parents
to
parents
school board meetings, for
are
God's sake.
freaking terrorists, really?
Yeah, you want to hear this?
With
Okay.
U.S.
Yeah.
Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look forward, and we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in
Vice
November
President Pence,
2024.
Did not answer the question.
Vice President Pence, what do you think, Vice President?
is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
I've answered this before.
So yes.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what we're going to be focusing on
I'm relieved.
going forward? The rehashing of this? I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis.
Democrats would love that, and they will win if we
Governor
let them get away
DeSantis
with it. I'm not
All
letting.
right, well, I mean, that's
Facts.
the point. Yep.
That's true.
Facts.
That is true.
He's like, are we going to talk about Donald Trump and that, or what?
Yes, everyone's like, yes, we are.
Former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson, you did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was morally disqualified from being president again as a result of what happened on January 6th.
Oh, boy.
People understanding the importance of that, including conservative legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again as a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify
seriously, dude?
He lost it right there.
And
He lost it all right there.
He's done by
you lost
Asa.
me.
obviously,
I know
I'm
Christy-
not
I know
gonna
Christy
support
Wilson's not
somebody
voting
who's been
for
convicted of
Asa
a serious
Hutchinson.
felony.
Let me tell you
or
what.
Who
Here's the
has
deal.
is disqualified
You
under
can
our Constitution,
dislike
and that's
Donald
consistent with
Trump.
RNC rules. And I hope
You can have all the kinds of opinions you want, but if you're calling January 6th an insurrection, give me an all the way break. Give me, like, it was the most calm insurrection I've ever seen in my life. No gun charges, no weapons charges. No. Has anybody even been charged with dude? give
No,
me
there's
all the
people
way break.
sitting in jail, including, grandmothers who were escorted in by the
Yeah.
That is
Capitol
wild.
Police.
Give me an all the way break.
But again, it's just like they're falling in line with the narrative of the left, right?
Yep, exactly.
That started on
talked
January
about
20th.
is we have to dispense with the person who said that we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence
I
said
wonder,
no, and he deserves credit
what was
for it.
Chris Christie's stance during the pandemic when they were shutting down businesses in Jersey?
What about when they were
Is he-
cheating when they were getting creative with
That
elections?
day or not?
Yeah,
I do
like
think that Vice President Pence did the right thing, and
talking about the Constitution.
Wait, say
Oh,
that
so-
again.
that, you know, he's going hard with the Constitution. I'm like, what was his stance during the entire pandemic when
Yeah,
they literally
exactly.
locked down businesses, especially in, you know, like places like Jersey, and
I
people
didn't
were getting
hear
arrested
Chris Christie out there,
at
you
all.
know, caping for freedom. That doesn't mean he wasn't, but I don't remember him being a strong voice speaking out against it.
I don't remember that either.
Yep.
I
I don't
feel
think
like we
so.
would have heard about that. I feel like that
I'm
would have
pretty
come up
sure.
in
I know
the
Christy Noam in
circles.
South Dakota was vocal about it.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
remember him at all.
I mean, if
Mr. Constitution all of a sudden.
the if the meme is of Chris Christie sitting on the beach by himself during the pandemic, what
I
does
think
that
it was. I'm
say?
going to double check that. We can put this up. I mean, if you want, let me see.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it, let people say what they wanted to say, and now, indeed, we are moving on to the subject
The
of
U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
You
kind of
did,
involved.
you answered on this.
You did
You did
say
answer.
something.
Yeah.
We thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike, why don't you say
Oh,
this?
interesting.
Join me in making a commitment that on day one you would pardon Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate on the stage who had the courage to
Oh,
exercise it.
wow.
That is how we move
Wow,
our
wow.
nation forward.
I love how
And
Vivek
turn
is
the
just
table forward.
He
he's
is,
just
yeah.
inserting himself.
You should
He's
maybe be able
definitely
to
the
make a
most
commitment, the same
aggressive
justice
on the
system that was
stage.
this
Here's the
corrupt.
difference between you and me.
Yeah, I'm not a
They
political
fig- this is
politician,
the.
who can answer a
They
question.
have to
Actually
stand
given
out at this
pardons
point in
When I
time.
was governor
Yeah.
of the state of Indiana, it usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, look, if I'm president of the United States, we'll give fair consideration to any pardon request. But if I may, you know, it's not about looking back at January 2021. It's about January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And
He's
it ended with a
rehashing
prayer.
what he
So
already
help me
said.
God.
So what did you do with COVID
It was a promise that I made to the American people, but I also made it
when they were locking people down?
to my Heavenly Father. Every day for
Jesus.
4 years, I
The
sought to keep that
healer
oath.
who's not afraid of COVID?
Everyone on this
Right.
stage needs to make it
Who
clear
created
whether
your
or not
immune
they'll do
system?
the same.
Well,
they
at
earn this
least
job and the
they
confidence
didn't
of the American
support lockdowns.
Now, look, I've made it clear. I had hoped that the issues surrounding the 2020 election and the controversies
I have
around
to say,
January 6th had not
in all
come to this, had
sincerity,
not come to criminal proceedings.
You know, people don't.
I would
like
rather they
Mike
had been
Pence,
resolved by the American people and the American
but
people alone. But no one's above the law.
He
And President-
has done a really good.
Then what about
he
the
did-
Democrats and progressives?
He did, like, everybody's hating on Mike Pence right now, but in all sincerity, when he was vice president, he actually could articulate the plan, what they were trying to do. He defended Donald Trump, he defended his presidency. And I just think that it's really a shame that people are throwing him, like President Trump just threw him under the bus, and that everybody's like, oh, he just sucks and is stupid, and why didn't he
But I
do
feel
whatever,
like-
whatever. And it's like,
I don't
that
want to
dude.
listen. Hold on.
I
don't
feel
wanna
like
hear
he did
nothing-
it to
I don't wanna-
himself,
I don't
though,
want to hear
'cause-
nothing about Law and Order, and I don't want to hear nothing about any of that stuff. If you've been silent during all this chaos, if when the people were legitimately doing things that were overtly corrupt, you weren't Constitution is Constitution now. You weren't riding that high horse then. But now that it's going to help your political career for the guy you used to work under to ride the Constitution out, now all of a sudden you're a dog for the
Right, now
Constitution
they
and
care
rule of
about the
law.
Constitution.
I don't believe that. It's
By
not
the
consistent.
way, clarification. So
Yeah.
that whole thing with Chris Christie was in 2017, but what it was is that he had completely shut down a public beach. And then he and his family enjoyed the public beach that was shut down to the public. So that had nothing to do with the pandemic, but
Wow.
so that meme. But anyway,
Wow,
we can go
Okay.
back.
Yeah, he's
I agree with
just
you,
as much. That Chris
Ben.
Christie, I know he's like friends with some friends of
It's talking about
ours.
Ukraine now.
Oh, let's hear some of this.
Yeah. Let's
They
see.
said we're protecting Ukraine and not protecting our own borders.
China's hands. The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional
are we going to
politicians
war
on the
with
stage that will
China?
make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's.
He's referring to
And
me.
the
He
reality
claims
is,
it.
This is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
Thank you.
All right, we heard the names.
Ooh.
All right, look, I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families.
What do you think about the southern border?
They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears,
Oh my gosh.
and shot people in the back
So-
of the head.
Wait, check this
So
out.
we-
Gone into those homes.
I want to put this
So
in.
we should be involved. Yeah.
We've had that kind of stuff
that
happen
we
in other countries.
instigated.
Widows.
Why are we
and
not
orphans.
concerned when it happens in places
Right.
like Africa and
This
other
is
countries?
the
People have been
Vladimir
doing that the
Putin.
whole time.
This
Where's
is the
Christian?
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin.
I don't care. I don't care.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump
Sister.
called brilliant
They're
and
they
a
just
genius.
Warmongering.
If we don't
Did you
stand up
see
against
that
this type of
that
autocratic
interview
killing in the
of
world,
the general in Congress talking about the number of people that they have trained
You were mentioning
and armed
Vice
in
President Pence was
Africa
mentioning
that
you
have
30
led
seconds.
coups in Africa recently?
No.
Oh yeah, it
And be the
is
leader.
amazing.
Small view of the greatest nation on earth.
That is incorrect.
We can do both, Vivek. We've done both. We've been the leader of the free world
talking
and
about
the
being
arsenal of
rural
democracy for years. The Reagan doctrine
Yeah.
years ago made it clear.
No.
We said
give
if
me
you're
Nope.
going to fight
Hey,
the
Olga,
communists on your soil,
why don't you
we'll
talk
give you the
about
means to fight them
United
there so
States
our
being
troops don't have to
police
fight them.
for a little while. Like what?
Yeah, because all of these guys are just going to go on like we need to go to war with the freaking world.
Yeah, Pence
by the way-
Pence supports all the funding to Ukraine. Pence is for
Right.
it.
Nice.
I know Pence is for it. Clearly, Christie is for it.
What was Vivek saying? He wants to shift to go to war with
Does not
China.
exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
The real
so
threat.
far?
You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to
Do
address
you
right now
not have
is
any
the
idea what
I let
Vladimir Putin's aims
you
are?
already spoke. Now I actually have something to
Vladimir
say.
Putin is saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet sphere
You've made
of
your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Vice
Now, if
President
you
Pence,
think I'm
if
sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist. He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of
my
America
God.
needs to
Yeah.
stand
Right, because
against authoritarian
wow. Oh my
He's
God.
a
These
dictator.
people have no
hold on,
idea.
hold on.
Like-
I want to hear what
The
he
real
says.
threat we face today is communist China, and we are
Oh,
driving
well,
Russia further
another
into China's
just-
arms. The Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it,
everybody-
and I am the only non-neocon on this stage who will keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President.
I love Brett Baer trying to like.
Oh my
take
God, that
control of
face.
these
The
people.
Botox
Hold on.
freeze.
What is he saying
Ukraine will
though?
never be in NATO, and then somehow
Mr. Vice President.
China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice President.
Oh my God. I'm getting a flashback.
I think we need to reestablish some ground rules here,
When we
folks.
hear this bell,
Yes.
that means your time's done.
We're done.
So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate
their
your
mics.
aggressiveness here.
Yeah, cut his
their
mic.
mics.
Yeah, just
Cut their
mute.
Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today,
No, let the other
Ukraine
people talk.
is not a
No.
priority for the United
He
States
mentioned
of America.
Vivek.
And I think that the same people who took us
It
into the
doesn't
Iraq
matter. He
War,
already
the same
talked.
Let's
people who
stop-
took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders.
Wasn't he
protect
just
the
saying we should go to
homeland.
war with China?
Priority for
No,
our
he's
country.
saying saying they're the number one threat.
Well, earlier in a different commentary, he was saying like we should help
Governor Haley,
Taiwan.
You
Oh,
did
I
not
don't know. I
raise
didn't
your
catch
hand,
that
meaning
part. Yeah,
you
yeah.
Would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You
Oh
have
my God.
said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil. Right. When you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
I want to talk about what has been given to
Absolute.
Ukraine. Less than
Are any of them gonna mention like Hunter Biden and
Ukraine.
that whole
Oh my
situation
God.
with
Percentage
Ukraine?
per GDP,
Didn't
11
these-
of the European countries have given.
Was known for being one of the most corrupt countries in
Yeah.
Eastern Europe.
And they just ignored the whole history going back to like 2014 with the Donbass region and all of this.
All
Like
of
just
these
completely ignore.
things.
What makes them any
Wait,
different
I
than
wanna-
what the Democrats are saying right now? This is what is
I want to
so.
bring this up. This is really funny to me. Anytime I hear Christians like them talk about evil, it's very funny to me, because evil, if you're a Christian, means a bunch of different things. If you're not pushing to see what was going on Epstein Island and what we got in
Right.
that little black book, I don't want to hear you talk about children anywhere else.
Yep.
In our hemisphere, we have slavery. And you guys are talking about Ukraine. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be concerned about it, but I'm saying you do not have that same level of energy for your own people. And that is appalling to me.
Yep.
These
The
people.
the amount of money that's already been sent there is beyond obscene. And clearly Ukraine is a proxy war with Russia, which is just putting us in like the worst geopolitical position. We have a president who is weak publicly, globally, like that's putting us like, that's a dangerous position to be in. And then we just have
we
these
gotta run
people
this
who are
back.
all like trying to war over war hawk. Who's the biggest war hawk? I mean, this
Yeah.
is unbelievable. Anyway.
They've lost accounting errors,
Money.
tens of billions of dollars in Ukraine. So we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars on the war in Ukraine, and they've just lost
Money that
tens of
and
billions.
it's money that doesn't even exist because we're just printing up money,
We're just
and then
printing
it's
it.
the inflation, which is the silent tax. So it's really like the enslavement
Making
of like
interest
our
rates going
Yeah.
up and destroying our economy.
and it's the enslavement of like our great grandchildren, and like this debt is
Wild.
just gonna go on.
But I want
Absolutely
I want
wild.
it looks like these Nikki and Vivek are finna get into
Vivek.
it. I want to see what this is
Let's
about
see.
here.
Uh-oh, look at his face. Volume.
Oh.
Russia takes Ukraine, Poland, and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying
my
to prevent
God.
war.
Give
Look
me
at
a
what
break.
Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a.
Oh, you mean like the freaking Saudi prince who killed
Yeah.
the journalist? What do you have to say about that, Nikki Haley?
Just a bunch of hypocrisy.
Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not
But
on the
the
board
fact
of
of
Yep.
the
Lockheed and
matter,
Raytheon, and you
Boeing
went
came
put
off of it,
down
but you've been pushing
everybody
this
on
lie.
stage,
You've been pushing
but
this
you
lie
want-
all week,
You want
Nikki.
to go and defund Israel? You want to
Okay,
give
let me
Taiwan
address
to
that. I'm
China?
glad you brought that
want
up.
to go and give
I'm going
Ukraine
to address
Russia?
each of those right now. This is
It's amazing how people
Defund
can't
the
follow.
world.
I think it's funny how you arguing to be president.
But let's say you
I think what's funny is you're arguing to be president and follow the rules of law. You idiots can't follow the rules of a simple debate and just shut
Right.
your mouths and let people finish sentences. There's nothing on earth on the internet that bothers me more than that. Like in
Oh my
debates and
God.
conversations, like, can I hear what the other person is saying?
No.
Just let them talk.
No.
Jeez
That was the
Louise.
best
And I thought she
point.
said, and she's a woman, so she says it doesn't make ladies look better. She's making y'all look bad. She looks like his wife nagging him about something he
Yeah.
didn't do last
You
week.
hash
Just
it.
let the dude talk.
No, that dude is dominating and talking over everyone. I would tell him to shut up.
No,
Well,
she
but-
mentioned him.
Yeah.
So our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than
Wait, what are they cheering about right now? Why are they? What
Her
just got
her
said?
spanking him.
friendship. And you know what friends do?
'Cause
Friends
I
help
guess
each
he's in
other
him.
stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland.
Well, then why should we send aid to?
Governor DeSantis,
Defund the world.
not only
No, it's not a territorial dispute
President of the
either.
United States, your first obligation is
It's so weird that people keep talking about Donald Trump but acting like him. It's just so strange to me.
to defend our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people
We can
who
do
are
both
being
at the
killed because
same
what we're not.
No, you
doing-
can't,
No,
Nikki.
you can't.
No,
you
you
can't.
cannot.
Emergency. I'm
No,
not
you
going to
can't.
send troops to Ukraine, but
And
I am
again,
going to send them to
why
our
are
southern
we
border.
defending
When
a
these
country
drug
that
pushers
is
are bringing
known for
fentanyl
being
across
corrupt?
the border,
Not
that's
only
gonna be the
that,
last
but
thing they
I
do.
mean,
We're gonna use
NATO,
force and we're
I
gonna
don't know,
leave
NATO
them
needs to be
stone cold.
disbanded.
Seriously,
We're
we
actually-
instigated. We
Sorry.
instigated.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be after the
China
Soviet
has the
Union
biggest
fell.
Navy in the world.
We instigated
Have warships off the
Russia
coast of Alaska.
invading Ukraine. Like that is directly
it's pretty
our
clear.
fault.
And what's pretty sad is that at one point Zelensky was at the negotiation table with Putin, and then
We
the
talked
British
him
Prime
out of
Minister
it.
at the
Was that
the-
before or
well,
after he
the-
was twerking in heels? Was that before?
Yeah,
Was that after that?
yeah, it might have been in between.
Just trying to.
It might have been, yeah.
I'm
Trying to
trying to keep these timelines straight. It's just so,
the timeline.
the sacred timeline. I feel like I'm Kang over here.
Is Tim Scott even still on the stage? Have
He's
we
somewhere.
heard from him at all?
Let's see what this dude's talking about. Hold on. We're talking about China now.
Oh, let's
Vivek's gonna
go.
go.
Imports 10 million
Yeah.
barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country, so they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there talking. They don't even bring up energy because they're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship missiles on
Oh,
time.
Wow, that
The way that
escalated
you have
quickly.
a war never start,
Wow,
which
wow,
is the
wow.
goal. The way you have peace through strength is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence.
Oh, so we gotta
and what
go
we have
defend
what we've got
Taiwan
going on
now.
in Ukraine is an example of when deterrence fail. What is an example there of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the fact that he green-lighted Putin moving into Ukraine, and then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to be strong, and we have to be strong both in Ukraine, and we can solve the southern border. Absolutely, we can do that, because guess what? There's only 19,855 authorized people for the Border Patrol, but they're not all staff because the Biden administration doesn't enforce law enforcement. But Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money and the support we need to our own Border Patrol.
Okay.
Well,
that was
they
a
have
good
to
point.
steal. They have to steal our money somehow to fund all this
It's like,
war.
well, Pence, what did you have to say about that?
87,000 IRS
87.
agents and hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border.
Yeah.
It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
Plus 6 million illegal crossings since President Biden has taken
Well, not
office.
only that,
And
so
200
hold
people
up.
on our national security watch list have been caught at our border.
we'll let
How
Tim
many
Scott talk
have not
since we
been
haven't
caught
heard from
at
him
our southern
much.
border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could
Just
finish
10
the
billion.
wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to
No,
stop the
it's more
flow of
important that we send it over
fentanyl
to
and save
Ukraine.
70,000 Americans a year. That should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask.
Hillard says,
I
listen,
couldn't agree more.
Pence
It's
is
not
the
just the
Antichrist.
70,000
Said it,
from-
he's a
We've lost
Christian.
200,000
Man,
people
what a
to
liar he
overdoses
is. He's
since
evil
Biden-
and fake, so-called Christian hypocrite. Wow.
Damn. Tell us how you really feel.
Golly, Hillard.
Let it out. So, Olga, this is one of my questions. The Libertarian Party, that, like, I have a big, like, this is why sometimes, I have a hard time with the Libertarian Party and the no borders thing. When you've got.
That's not the stance, though.
It's so explain what the stance of the Libertarian Party is when it comes to the southern border or the northern
Libertarians,
border,
I mean,
for that matter.
we believe in free markets, and part of free markets and free association and the free movement of people. However, you can't, that's like, we also believe in decentralization of money and ending the Fed, right? And ending like centralized banking, and like having like a free market of money. But we're not there. Like, that's not where we are right now. So it's not that we're like, oh, we're good with like what's happening at the border. Like, and I don't mean to, like, I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm just saying, like, from a philosophical standpoint, like, yes, we want the free movement of people because we see that as part of a free market. And where you see security, and where you see that you don't have welfare states, where you see that you don't have coercion, where people are forced out because you have a drug war, you have narcos that are controlling everywhere, you have, corruption here in the United States, you have this incentivization and criminalization along the border. Like, yeah, we're not in those conditions to be saying, what we're looking at, or like some of the solutions that people are coming up with is like, there's areas of the border that, like, we look back at like private property, like we have to decentralize in a way, though, this approach, because the people that are best to make the decisions are the ones that actually live on the border to a certain degree, in terms of like, what do you need to like figure this out? Because clearly what's coming up here has nothing to do with the free movement of people, because a lot of people are coerced to leave because of the drug war. If so, what would be the solution? One of the biggest solutions would be to end the frickin' drug war. We have to decriminalize this to a degree so that we don't have the incentivization of a black market that is driving so much. I mean, this is militarized to such a degree we can't even imagine. All the roads, all of the pathways along for people to come up north are completely controlled, and people are absolutely leveraged on their way here. They are raped, they are violated, the children are taken away from them, the amount of human trafficking that is coming up there, we can't imagine. So this is not like, oh, people are just like, walking and they're trying to get, from A to B. And this is a situation that so much of it we're not hearing about. And it's unfortunate that these politicians are just talking about, like, 5 feet in front of the Rio Grande, where you have all of these people and all of these great talking points, but they're not even addressing that it's been the failure since 1971, when Nixon declared like the drug war. It's been an absolute failure from the beginning. And so they should be talking about, like, how do we address that? Because that's the elephant in the room. Haha, elephant. Republican Party. And, like both political parties, but yeah, we have that ideal in terms of, we would like to see where there is, a free, but when you have that, what also we're saying, you can't have a welfare state. It's just, you can't have it where it's like, you can't have everything. It would be great, because then if you had people who wanted to come up here and work and they can move back and forth, I mean, you see that in other countries and it works great, but there's conditions that are completely different. And one of the conditions is we don't even have a free market in the United States.
That's true.
So we're talking about like what we would like to see happen. Like, what does liberty look like? What would liberty look like in Mexico? They don't have that either. Like, they're under the thumb of these violent, drug trafficking authoritarians that are devastating this entire region too. But I hear what you're saying, but yeah.
No, that's actually good the way you're putting it.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
No, I've heard people
No,
talk
it's
about
good.
incrementalism, and it's like, okay, there's the ideal of what America's supposed to look like.
Right.
But we can't get there tomorrow. Like, as I said, if your people aren't educated, don't understand freedom, liberty, don't understand the free market or what the purpose of a business is, or producers and consumers, You're not going to have the America that people want tomorrow. You
Want
have
to even
move-
come to.
Right. You need increments where we can move through. And I think that that's one of the things when we hear libertarians talking is like, well, if you have a place like Mexico, Nicaragua, Venezuela, that's your southern border, and you're talking about free movement, it's like, well, that's not free movement. That's migration. Because those people are just going to leave all the places that they didn't like and they're going to come here. Well, that's not necessarily beneficial for us, especially as you said, if we have a welfare state, well, what's the smart move? I'm going to dip out and I'm going to go to America and get taken care of. That's just, I mean, why would you not do that for the sake of your
But
family?
it's also not necessarily bad. Look at Miami and look at the Cuban migration into Miami. Years ago, Miami was just, it wasn't like what it is today. And it was because, you had this influx of Cubans and people that went to Miami, that they created like one of the biggest cultural centers in the world because there was like this freedom of movement. But also it was people who were escaping tyranny and people who loved, the idea that they can come here and make something of themselves and come with that strong work ethic. So you can see when you have those two things, what can be created.
Yeah, but
that's just an example.
The problem is when you have, for instance, a war with a place like Russia and China, you can't have a free, open movement border like that. When you have a situation like Texas where we can run out of water, everybody wants to come here. That's great. Is it good for Texans? No, it's not if we don't have enough water because we're relatively landlocked. And so this is, again, one of those things with the concept is great under certain parameters and we don't have the right scenario right now to get to what people are actually trying to accomplish. Yeah. And I think
at the root,
you have something like what happened in Europe. So you had a mass migration of Muslims out of the Middle East and out of Africa, and now they're rioting, and there is rampant crime, and there's massive problems because of the cultural rift between the two people. So if you have a national identity and you have a culture in your country, and then a bunch of people just come there and take it over and say, well, we're not going to do it like this anymore. I mean, that's basically just colonization.
But right. So, and I just want to clarify that, that is not like the position that we're taking as libertarians. Like, that's what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah. No, I got you.
And at the root of everything in terms of libertarianism is, the strong belief in private property. And so one of the ideas and solutions is that so much of the region needs to be allowed to thrive under private property, because as a private property owner, you have the right to say, I don't mind letting some people in and figuring out whatever, but also you have the right to say, no, you're not allowed to come into my property, and I have the right to defend it. So I mean, it's not like, this pacifist ideal of just open the border type thing.
So
there's a lot that goes into it.
That makes sense.
That's really okay. So that actually explains a lot. And I'm really glad that I asked that question and that you explained it that way, because I think that's the difference between libertarian open borders and this,
which is a misnomer, but
correct.
But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I think. So that clarification, and then the left saying, oh, we want open borders, let everybody just come here. Yeah. They don't believe in private property rights. They don't believe you have the right to defend your property, or that you should
and
have your own stuff.
And I'm really simplifying it. There was a really good debate between Spike Cohen and Dave Smith, if you guys look it up, that kind of talks about within libertarians, because we have these discussions all the time and these debates all the time of what would it look like, or what would the best scenarios be, because it is a reality. But it's they're the reality that we have to end the Fed and we have to end centralized banking, how do we get there? And what does that because it's a process. Nothing is that we have to end the welfare state, but that's not going to be from one day to the next. It's probably going to take like a couple of generations, because you also don't want to penalize people who are also victims of this system. Like we have to like transition, right? So everything is from that. But if we understand like what the principles are, and so at the root of our principles, like private property and the non-aggression principle, right? Like we want to, but there's so much going on. But yeah, the drug war is really the main driver of all of this. So the fact that like they have these they have these discussions that they don't even mention, I just find it so disingenuous, you know,
What would
at
it
their
look
level.
like? What do you think it would look like, especially given the the fentanyl being brought over from China, what some people are calling chemical warfare, as an example? Like, what does decriminalizing look like in an ideal world when there's just so much death and
what are the models, right?
overdosing?
Like, what are the models? Like when we ended prohibition, like what ended up happening? You had, businesses that kind of stepped in, and like there was a professionalization. Of course, you had government that was like, oh, we want to tax and regulate it, but like minus that, you had because there's a demand, right? But I think you start to see too, where you see in other countries where there's also a demand, like if people want to use like clinical grade cocaine for whatever reason, because that's their drug of choice. Like for some people it's cannabis, for some people it's alcohol. They also want quality that goes along with that, and assurances that there isn't, chemicals that shouldn't be in there. I'm just using that as an example, like as an extreme example. But we can look at cannabis, we can look at alcohol, like we already have like what it is. Do we want to promote people to like use these things? No, but at the same time, like what would a free market solution look like? And I bet it's a lot less people using it, because once you have a free market in decriminalization of drugs, you're going to have a lot less violence that's just happening because people are competing to sell it.
Just for the record, they're talking education now.
Okay, cool. Let's hear it. Let's listen.
We stood up. I took a lot of fire for that. I was pilloried by the media, but I stood for our kids. And as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well. But we have to make sure that what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race theory from our K through 12 schools. We eliminated gender ideology from our K through 12 schools. And we have elevated the importance of American civics in teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
Mr. Ramaswamy, hold on, Senator Scott. You've said that the Department of Education, the FBI, the ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the Department of Commerce, many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
That's right.
So to the education question, how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete. And then revive our national identity, where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that, frankly, every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but the word privilege gets used a lot. Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of 2 parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well.
Like
because
Larry Elder's
education
actually
starts
on the
with the
stage.
family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Forgot to mention the drug war's role in taking men out of the home, but okay, I'll give him credit.
Governor Haley has said that biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one-size-fits-all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by states. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district, state, and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, you know, with small town kids, and we went, you know, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did
The
it 50
governor's
years
going to
ago,
follow
with
you all day
innovation,
long.
not regulation.
Poor
I
kid.
would get rid of
Poor
the Department of
kid. I'd be
Education. I would give block grants to
nerve-wracking.
schools, but I'd give
I think
them
it's
on merit
interesting
based
that
on
they're
who's
all
doing the most
actually
innovative. I
getting
just got
different
done holding the 7th
questions.
annual Governor's Conference on Innovation Education. You should see what the people are doing when you cut loose the red tape, get the burden
I'm
off their back.
convinced
They care.
Vivek was
Teachers in
so
this country,
hardcore with
the vast
abolishing the
majority of them
three-letter
care about
agencies
those
because of his
kids.
time at
They're working
Porkfest.
low-paying jobs, and they're
Yeah.
fighting for
Yeah.
those kids
Oh,
in
yeah.
families.
Governor Haley, you said that this is the women's issue of our time.
First, I'll tell you, as
I
you
wanna
know,
hear this.
as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And we can talk about all of these things, and there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools, but we've got to get these kids reading. If a child can't read by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we
Nice
need to make sure
pivot,
we bring in
Nikki
reading
Haley.
remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom.
They're gonna have
Parents
surveillance
need to
in
be
the classroom.
deciding which schools their kids go to because they know
Alright.
best. And let's put vocational classes
No,
back into
close-
the high
close
schools.
down.
Let's teach our kids to build things again. When we
What
do
does this
that
have
and
to
we
do
allow
with
that innovation,
women
that's when it'll get back. And yes,
school?
I will always say I'm going to fight for girls all day long because strong girls become strong women become strong leaders, and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
Another point of education.
Okay, so she got back around to it.
Finally.
She pivoted.
It's going to go to you, Vice President. So this is a lightning round of questions, 30-second
Lightning
answers,
round.
please.
They're gonna fail
President
this
Biden
so
That
will be
hard.
means we're
82
getting
years
toward the
old
end
on
of the
Inauguration Day. Nearly
debate, I think.
70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test
Yes.
in order to serve Vice President Pence?
To do like basic training.
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and
The best line, the best thing he's
30
ever
seconds,
said.
No, the American people can make
Nothing
those judgments.
truer
But let me
has
say,
ever
I'm
been
running for
said
president of the
on a
United States
debate
'cause
stage.
we don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states work, and on this
Need an
education issue,
insider.
Martha, I was fighting against No Child Left
Well,
Behind when
Trump
Republicans
is
were
gonna be
doubling
an
the Department of
octogenarian,
Education.
too,
I'll also
so-
shut
Yeah.
down the federal Department of Education. And when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America, and we'll give school choice to every family in America when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38.
Gosh,
you're the
she's
youngest on the
talked
stage.
like this whole time
You've
so
said,
much.
and you just said you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity
Yeah, you did say
test
that.
for presidents over 75?
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Go into the south
Got
side
him.
of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic working class majority to deliver a landslide. And I think I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question.
Wow.
Ooh, smash.
What do you think about, is he too conservative to be a libertarian candidate?
Yeah, he's too much of a war hawk. He's a war hawk, though.
Really?
Yeah.
He's-
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah, he's
for
a-
the Ukraine stuff, though.
But he's pushing
On
China.
education, first
More
of
with
all, look
China.
at Arkansas. We have to compete with
War
China.
with
I
China?
built computer science
Oh, you haven't
education.
heard his other
we
stuff.
led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100
Oh,
students
I like
to
base
23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China in terms of technology.
Thank you, sir. This is going to go to this is coming to you.
China is
we're
about
trying
to,
do
like,
a quick
tank
round of
itself.
different topics here. So,
Let 'em.
Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit
Oh, they're
before
getting asked
tonight.
different
Oh, they're
questions.
just
So
getting
is there a
all random
role
questions.
for a president
Yeah.
of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's
Interesting.
green earth. I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we
Wow.
change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing.
Well, that's not
in
a
the
nice
doorhouse of our
terminology.
and locking them into
Not sound
failing
loving at all.
schools and
No,
locking
that
them
was the
out
most
of the
aggressive
greatest
thing I
future
think I've
they
heard
could
him
have.
say the whole time.
Yeah.
Backbreaker on
President, Governor
teachers?
DeSantis,
Yeah.
would you
Like-
support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed
He's
to
in the
Iraq
Navy, I
alongside
think. Yeah.
U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi. And it's something that I
Yeah,
think
I
has
don't
taught
think
me, you know, when you go in
anybody
that
else
type
on
of
stage has
environment,
served.
anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the president of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something a little out of this world, and this is for you, Governor Christie. Do you believe that the recent spike in UFO encounters?
Get the fuck out of here. Oh my
You got to
God.
give him the stupid question.
We've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot
What,
more seriously.
right now?
And we're hearing that, you know, there are things going on.
He's like, why is this my question? Dude, they're going to give you the joke question because you're the
right
joke.
now.
Would you
He's
level with
incredulous.
the American people about what the government knows about these possible
Come on.
encounters?
And especially coming
They should
from
be
a woman
asking
from
him
New
if he would
Jersey.
declassify the
I
Kennedy
think
files.
It's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Of course, the job of the President of the United States is to
What?
level with the American people about everything.
No.
The job of the President of the United States is to stand for
not
truth.
gonna happen.
The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was
Oh, wow.
UFOs
That's not
or
Well,
this problem of education,
dude.
and
That's a tall
Tim's
order,
right,
bro.
by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay.
Nice pivot.
Coming up,
Wow.
we've got
Nice
closing
pivot.
arguments. Plus, right after the debate, Hannity is live from the spin room right here in the
Interesting.
Fiserv Forum.
Oh my God, there's like
All the candidates.
so few people. Is that the debate? Is that where people are? Oh, that's the press room.
That's
Did you say the
spin
Pfizer
room.
Forum? What did he say?
Oh yeah. Yep.
What?
Okay.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah.
The Pfizer Forum.
Oh yeah.
Of course it is.
Do you
Of
know
course
it was
is.
something
Was
like
there any pandemic or COVID
wait,
questions because they're trying to bring mask mandates back?
no, I did
Of course
hear
not.
though. What the heck was the number? It was something outrageous, you guys. I heard the dollar amount or the percentage of advertising on cable news by pharmaceutical companies. I am not going to get the number correct. I don't remember what it was. It was something astronomical, but it was well over 50% of the advertising dollars. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was like 80%, but I don't want to be a liar. So I don't remember, but it was over 50% of the advertising dollars on cable television what is from pharmaceutical companies. And I was like,
You're probably right. I mean,
that is terrible.
$8.1 billion on on advertising campaigns.
Wow.
From from a year ago, 2022.
That's
So,
crazy. It
and
might be
like
like specific news shows or channels or something.
I mean,
I know I got the statistic wrong, but
yeah,
it's
I mean, but 8.1 billion just in advertising. So, like, what percentage of that is their budget? So you have to ask yourself, what are they making? Like, they're making
exactly.
a shit ton of money if 8.1 billion is their ad campaigns.
And why do you need money from us? Why do you need money from the federal government to do stuff if you have $8.1 billion to spend to advertise your pills?
Because if it wasn't for, the FDA, the DEA, like all of these agencies is what makes they're propped up completely. I
Oh
mean, the
yeah.
CDC, like, right, the CDC, like all these studies, like with all of these agencies have revolving doors with,
Correct.
the large pharmaceutical companies, right? Like they're
Yep.
all in bed with each other. It's this, really sick kind of corporatism. I mean, since pretty much like the entirety of like Anthony Fauci's career, like, he's what's he in charge? Like he's in charge of like, the health, like the health of the nation has gotten progressively worse. Like
Yep.
we now have generations of children who were sicker than the generation before them, right? Like we're going in reverse, where usually it's always been the opposite. Like since people have been people, like the next generation has always gotten progressively better for the most part, with few exceptions during like massive plagues or something like that. And now the trend is going in reverse.
In
So
reverse, we're
this
actually yeah,
but
we have
it is because of, the how big government is, how entrenched. So, people always blame like capitalism. Oh, it's capitalism's fault. And
oh
like
my
the things
god.
that they are angry about, it has nothing to do with capitalism. It has everything to do with the role of big government and
Yep.
corporations. Big corporations and these types of businesses love big government. Why? Because they pick the winners, and
Yep.
then they have their propped up favorites right through the lobbying system.
Yep.
And you have these lobbyists that are writing these bills. They're giving all this money to these politicians. It's sick.
Yep. It is absolutely. I did a podcast recently, the Larry Sharp show.
Oh yes, good for you.
Yes, and there was a guy on there that I wasn't trying to debate him per se, but he just kept calling things capitalism and saying that that was the problem with everything, and I was like, dude, define capitalism.
Right. This is the
Uh,
problem.
because capitalism is literally just a system of trade. It
Free
is
markets.
it
That's
is
it.
it is the free trade of goods and services between human beings. It is literally the system that would exist if there were no government, because it's me and you as human beings deciding that I want what you have and you want what I have, and our perceived values are going to determine what we are willing to give and take for these things. And so when you said, so it was like, but he was like, capitalism is the devil. The world is
Well, when I was a raging leftist, I said the same thing because I didn't know anything about economics.
Dude called me a clown and started swearing at me. It was amazing. I
Oh my
put
God.
the dude on tilt by just asking him to define what capitalism
he got
was.
all in his feels.
Wild.
You want to hear the closing statements or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why
She
not?
is choking us. I grew up in a small town. My dad died when I was freshman in high school. My mom, widow of 3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our
that's
cities
an
are less safe
interesting
because of the fentanyl pouring into this country. Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump.
That's right.
One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We've got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president, I will bring out the best of America. I will improve every American life.
Governor
Well, we hope
Hutchinson.
you're back on
Respect
your
the
horse
bell.
soon, Governor.
We do not care about bells.
Governor Hutchinson.
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed leadership. And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's #1 responsibility is to bring out the best of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and hope for our country, with consistent conservatism. That's exactly what I bring.
I don't know
As
about all
president,
that.
I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our economy, in terms of securing our border, enforcing the rule of law. I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, ASA2024.com.
Thank you,
Okay.
Senator Scott.
Oh, and he got the plug in there. Smart.
You got
Thank you.
good
I was
talking
a disillusioned
points.
young man growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure we have food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. If you commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports
You
against men.
overcook chicken, you go to jail.
I'm Tim Scott. I'm
poorly
asking you for your
sweater,
vote, and if you're in
you go to
Iowa,
jail.
I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
There you go.
Governor Christie.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed
Oh,
to do.
Governor
Thank you, Brett.
Christie.
Thank you, Martha.
Sloppy
Look,
Christie.
everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey.
Dude,
and
you
it's exactly
ain't
what
no
I'll
Ronald
do
Reagan.
as president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race, and if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you.
That's
Governor
some
Haley.
good weed you're smoking, Chris Christie.
I do not believe him.
No,
Several
he's
weeks
so.
ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com.
I was hoping she would talk about how the war was senseless and we ended up arming the Taliban that they went over to fight against. She could have done it, but she didn't.
Sick burn.
Here we go. Silver Kendall.
Joe Biden has weakened
How much
America
do you want to bet
at
he
home and
talks
abroad.
about Jesus?
The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, their war on energy, runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border.
That you
assault on our
started!
values
What
and
are you
liberties.
talking about?
And the American
Does he
people
ever
have.
smile?
But I know we can bring
No.
it back.
Never.
But different times call for different
Literally
leadership.
never.
The Republican
His
Party owes the
forehead
American
is
people
so
a choice.
flat.
Proven
I
leadership
don't think he has any
at the
lines
national
in his
level that knows
forehead.
how to move a conservative
That's what I'm saying.
agenda forward. We proved in the
Botox.
Trump
Looks
Pence
like a
years you can
filter.
turn this country around faster
I
than
think
you can
keeping
imagine.
that face
And I
like
have
that,
faith
you
we
get
will
no
again.
lines in it.
Because I have faith in the
I
American
think I can
people.
do it
Got to
too.
work on my Pence
Good,
face.
decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic
Dude, I'm
people of this
telling
country,
you,
and I have
he
faith
has the
that God
most
is not
amazing
done with
poker
America
face
yet.
I've ever
And
seen.
if we
Seriously.
renew our faith
It
in one
never
another and
changes.
renew our faith in
Look at my
Him
face. I just
who
did
has ever guided
Yeah.
this nation since we
Told
arrived
you,
on these wilderness
Jesus.
shores.
NPC
I know the best
face.
days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to
Imagine
come.
if they made a mask
gotta-
of his face, it would be
got
the
a-
scariest
No,
mask.
he has a
1985, and
StreamYard
I
touch
grew
of my
up into
appearance
a
face.
generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways
Vivica
we are really
energy.
just the same as Americans,
He
bound by
definitely
a
has the
common set of
most-
ideals that set this nation into
He's
motion
definitely
in
the most
1776.
charismatic.
And this is our moment to revive
Do you think it's
those common
Adderall?
ideals. God is real. There
He's
are
hyper.
two genders. Fossil fuels are a
I think
requirement
it's his
for human
youth.
prosperity.
Yeah.
Actually.
Racism is
I do.
racism.
No, I
An
don't.
open border is
I'm not trying
I
to shit
think
on him.
it's his
I saw him
youth
playing.
and
Did you
his-
see that tennis?
Education of their children.
The tennis he was
nuclear
playing?
family is the
No.
greatest form of
Dude,
governance
oh
known
man,
to
he was
man.
just going at
Capitalism
it.
lifts us
I
up
think it's
from
the
poverty.
lack of
There are three branches
being a
of
politician.
government, not
Like,
four.
Yeah.
And the US
DeSantis
Constitution
DeSantis
is
could
the
be
strongest
better
guarantor
if he
of
wasn't
freedom
such a
in human
politician,
history.
but he's
That is
so
what won us the American
polished
Revolution.
and
That is
careful
what will win us the
that he
revolution
comes
of
off as
2024.
being-
I mean, and
Thanks
he's
for
really,
letting me
you know,
Yo,
he
he just spit fire. That was
Yeah.
a good speech.
Governor
Yeah.
DeSantis.
Look at the response. DeSantis has to follow.
Governor?
This is our time for choosing. We will send Joe Biden back to his basement and we will reverse the decline of this country. I'm a blue collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that's slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above self. I'm also a dad and a husband to 6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of
Oh, wow, he's
protecting
got little
parents'
kids.
rights and the
Yeah.
well-being of our children.
And
In
his wife
Florida,
had cancer.
we showed it could be done.
Oh.
I made promises and I
Very
delivered
young.
on all of those promises. 2024 is maker again, no excuses. I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
It's pretty good.
See,
On
he's
paper,
like-
he's, you know, on paper, he's like what they would want, but there's, you know.
Thank you to Milwaukee.
You know what it is?
Everybody, we will
You know
see
what
you
it
on the
is?
campaign trail, from
You know what it
debates
is?
to
Oh my
primaries
God,
to the
you
general
guys,
election. And
What is it?
I'm calling this right now.
What is it,
okay?
Muffin?
It's everybody wants every woman wants she wants a nice guy who will be sweet and kind, right? And that's the Ron DeSantis. He's the boy next door. He's like polished and like all of the thing. But really in the end, what we want as the woman is the bad
That's not-
boy.
that's
We chase the guy in the fancy car who doesn't call us back, and we want his attention. And we're like, no, pay attention to us. And then we end up getting, like, having all these problems and drama. And we could have had the nice guy. We could have had the good guy. But no, we forego him for the bad boy. I am just like, that's what it feels like right now.
That mentality.
I think that you're in danger, so that makes sense. I remember when they were talking about Donald Trump not being able to win, and it was like NPR, and it was like Hispanic people who liked him, Hispanic women who liked him, and like the reason is because they know that there's danger, and you're talking about how bad everything is, and he made them feel safe. They knew he'd fight, and for that reason, there are a lot of Hispanic women who liked Donald Trump because he presented a strong
personality,
man,
bombastic personality.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You know, it's interesting. I mentioned Javier Milei in Argentina. I was listening to him commenting on like what's happening with Trump, and he was saying like how, and again, like this is like how people are seeing it in other countries, and they're like how disastrous this is for the United States, how embarrassing that they are weaponizing the judiciary against a former president, like a political opponent. This is the stuff you would see in like third world regimes, and and that they are with him in solidarity because they feel like what they're doing to him is so unjust. So it's weird. It's interesting though to me, like when I heard that, because they're saying, and again, the thing that's attractive about Donald Trump to folks in other countries is his stance when he talks about socialism. Like I guess that stood out. We get lost here in the States, like in so much of the other talking points and stuff like that, and so many other aspects of his presidency. But in other parts of the world, it's like, no, he's standing against socialism because this is what we're trying to get away from in these countries. So it's pretty interesting, like how they see how he, without the lens of CNN or Fox, right? They're looking at it like from a completely different thing. So it's interesting, but yeah, he wasn't there. But he did that last time too. He didn't go to a lot of the debates.
He skipped.
One of the things I think is interesting about Donald Trump, and like again, I don't know I'm still not sure who I'm voting for. It won't be a Democrat and it won't be a progressive, but I don't know who's going to be. The interesting thing is when they attack Donald Trump and they talk about how bad he is or whatever, they don't really understand that they're admitting a whole lot about the Republican Party. The fact that you needed him to come in and do what he did, the fact that so many people wanted to vote for him and not somebody else, that your milquetoast candidates and Chris Christie and all these other people, the fact that happened that way, like there was a lesson there that I think Republicans did not get. People don't trust or like y'all. And when you get into power, you don't do any of the things that you say. And then you're shook and you're scared. And you let people like AOC run all over you because they are fighting no holds barred. And the only person who looked like they were ready to get in there and throw hands was Donald Trump. And so
the Republicans are just going along to get along,
feckless.
Not actually blocking anything, but just trying to mitigate it, not fighting back, not taking back territory, not fighting for our beliefs, not fighting for liberty, just like trying to hold the line. I heard that line a lot. In the last election, we just need to hold the line. And I'm like,
the Republicans are progressives driving the speed limit. Like in 15 years, the Republicans will be okay with a bunch of the stuff that progressives and Democrats are pushing now. And so it's, two wings of the same bird, if you really listen to it. I mean, Vivek, yeah, went hard with like, abolish like the three-letter agencies. And like I said, I'm convinced that his time in Pork Fest, where he was like hearing nonstop about like the tyranny of these agencies on the American public probably influenced him a bit. But
Good.
the other
Good.
thing is that on the other side of what you're saying, Ben, is that Trump didn't do the things that he said he was going to do.
Correct.
Right. So it's like, yeah, they're mad at him for the wrong reasons. And people aren't, people who are like hardcore for Trump, like still, it has nothing to do with his policies. It has nothing to do with like what he did in office. It's what he represents to them. Still, even though like he pushed, Operation Warp Speed and all of this stuff and pushed that,
Yeah.
he represents the thing that the left
elevated.
hates. So
Yes.
that's enough for people.
I've
So
heard
that's
people
the
say that,
failure. Yeah, so
literally.
that's the failure today of the
yeah.
debate, because they still don't get it. And they just think we're going to go on the train and be like, we're good little soldiers, that we all don't like Trump. Like he's the
meanie.
boogeyman, and he'll be our boogeyman too. And we're not really going to talk honestly about things. And it's like, you failed, because guess what? He will probably end up being like the one that's going to win a bunch of states, because people are like, yeah, he just makes these people mad. And I'm still okay. And people are going to be like, I'm still okay with that. Because at this point, they understand that it's complete dysfunction. And they'd rather just have this person that drives the left crazy, which
the
is why
giant orange middle finger. He's
Pretty
a
much.
giant orange middle finger.
That's it.
Essentially.
That is exactly what it is.
I mean, and they didn't even talk about like you said, Operation Warp Speed. I know I have a lot of people who are straight up Trump fans, and I'm like, no, I like a lot of what he did, but there's a lot of things, like you said, that he did not do. I expect to see way more swamp drainage.
He was a
expected
huge spending.
He's still
even before COVID.
Yeah.
And he's still talking about the shot. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't like the shot.
He's still pushing it. He is still promoting it.
And
so
that's
I have
what,
an
like,
issue with
he
that.
may not have pushed the mandates, but he definitely elevated the Faucis
He
of
didn't
the
help.
world.
He-
You did Operation Warp Speed to get a vaccine that
Good
is
point,
killing
Scott.
people.
Yeah.
Scott Johnson says, and remember, votes don't mean anything anymore. I'm not sure who that was referenced to, but then Eminem says Trump is a candidate.
Eminem.
Yeah, like, hey, look, and I don't knock anybody for having your feelings, your choice. It might be a gut. You might like his energy. I like Vivek's energy, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be good. He's smart, but that doesn't mean that he's solid in his principles. Like, I don't know how much he's willing to flip or flop depending on
Any of them.
feelings or,
Right.
whatever. That's what
The only one there that is seasoned enough that so far has stood along their principles, though I don't agree with like some of his authoritarian stances on stuff, is DeSantis. He's the governor, and he's literally governed, and he won the highest margin of any Republican, I think, in Florida. Like this last time, he got like such a huge percentage. And he was tested, and he's been the only one, right? All the other ones, like, you don't know. Chris Christie, like, really? I don't think you were hard against the pandemic and Mr. Constitution. I don't think I heard anything.
Bro? Where have you been at this whole time when people was rioting and burning things down? Where were you at, fam?
Yeah,
like,
what
that's
did
my
you have
issue.
to say? Who were you defending?
Yeah.
What were you getting out there? How were you actually affecting policy or trying to make change or defend people? How were you, were you trying to abolish?
He was sitting on a beach.
Wow.
Literally.
The public leaks that he closed to the public, and then, him and his family were hanging out on it alone.
GD Times X says Orange Man rocks.
You see, there it is.
And we want to do other things since we never do this. Big shout out to Ballistic Blade. I believe it's wait, let me see who some of your patrons are. Let me pull this up. I don't want to get this wrong.
Patrons for Generally Irritable, Keisha G. Big shout out to Keisha. Big shout out to Curtis. Mr. Kurt Hunter, who is a longtime supporter of the channel and a friend of the channel. He's awesome. We love him. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your continued support.
Yeah, I see.
You can go to subscribestar/generally irritable if you like the content, if you want to see more, if you liked our Anna Kasparian rap song that we did, you can go to subscribestar/generally irritable, and we can create more fun and delightful content for you.
Yeah.
Can I talk about Liberty Stock for like 1 second?
Yeah, dude, promote it.
So just real quick, if you guys are in the area,
in Vermont?
I'm producing the Liberty Stock Freedom Festival and Benefit. It's going to be happening September 2nd in Cabot, Vermont. Go to libertystock.org. We have an incredible number of speakers and performers. It's going to be a lot of fun. And libertystock.org, Liberty Weekend. Come check it out. They'll be camping. There's still some really nice Airbnb and inns that have availability for that weekend. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. So come hang out with some freedom loving people.
There's still some spots for vendors too, right?
Yeah.
Food
If
vendors.
people are interested in being vendors, there's going to be a free market expo. So whatever you vend, you can come hang out and be in like an area. There'll be an area for you to kind of talk about your business, talk about like what you're selling, your story, whatever you want to talk about. Free markets mean there's also some free speech, right? You can't have one without the other. So
that's right.
There'll be and there'll be some great music and a lot of cool stuff. People coming from all over. And Chris Sky, who is a Canadian human rights activist, is going to be a featured speaker there. So
yeah, he was one of the guys who was a big advocate for the Canadian truckers, right?
Yes. And he's been targeted by the Canadian government. I mean, it's really incredible. But from the beginning, I mean, he broke out that video that went viral of him September 2020, basically just kind of predicting like what was going to happen. And he was like, they're going to do contact tracing if they do the mask mandate, and then they're going to have a vaccine. And like everything, like he said, pretty much happened. And he's been out there. And so now he's in the United States and he's going around touring, and he's going to be coming to Vermont to speak.
Awesome.
So it's really exciting.
That is awesome. And this is on private property, right? So that's one of the cool things about this event in particular is that this is not going to be, at the campgrounds or, something like that. This is going to be a real place for people to come, feel comfortable and safe, participating in self-governance, participating in a free market, and
listening to panels talking about medical freedom and holistic health, because you can't have one without the other. Talking about the growing, food independence movement, and, people going into micro farming and homesteading, and talking about legislative activism and all the things that are happening in different states, locally, where people are getting things passed. And also just a big plug, guys, check out defendtheguard.us. It's an initiative to have the National Guard be brought back to the constitutional standard. So just check that out, because we have a few states where things are gearing up. So go to defendtheguard.us and you can get active in your state to bring the troops home, and to make sure that our National Guard is only deployed when there's an actual declaration of war, which has not happened since World War II.
And that's what we've got a situation right now, particularly with the lower rates of enlistment, where they're sending Guard members over to the 129 countries that we have bases, they're getting our National Guard instead of being home to defend the
national.
country, right?
Well, and to help,
Exactly.
like we had major
With
floods,
national
we have all these,
disasters.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of being here to help with national disasters, they're being deployed overseas
To feed the war machine.
unconstitutionally.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're
And we have
being
the
brought
highest
to
rate
serve
of
the national government.
veteran suicides. I mean, it's an incredible amount of stress. It doesn't only affect, our soldiers, but it affects their families. It affects our community of people who are, employees, people who are business owners, people who are, central to their families that are being
That's
sent.
right.
And they want to serve. These are people that sign up, right, because they want to do something and they want to do something positive. And it's just devastation on all sides. So defendtheguard.us, check that out.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love
I
it.
love your
Olga,
earrings, Erica.
thank you. Aren't they fabulous?
Did your sister make them?
No, these are one of the only jewelry, every folks who know me know a lot of my really nice jewelry was made by my sister. Go to jewelryvt.com, jewelryvt.com, and check out the designs there. Perihelion design. Jewelryvt.com is much easier. I don't even know how to spell perihelion. These are actual butterfly wings in resin.
Wow.
So there's this sanctuary, butterfly sanctuary, where they're harvested after they die or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they take them after the butterflies naturally pass away, and then they put their wings in resin.
That's gorgeous. Get me a pair.
I know. Where did I get them? My mom got them for me for Christmas.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know. My mommy's so good.
That's
She's
awesome.
such a sweet lady.
Well, this
I
was
love
really
my
fun.
mom.
I mean, I know we
Yeah.
we were talking over and we were being snarky, but you have to have a little fun with it. I
We
don't know
do.
anyone who can watch that and and be like 100% serious. Like it's I don't know. At this point,
No.
it's just like if you don't have a sense of humor about all of this,
We take
Well,
shots
and
at everybody. I think that's
I
fine.
yeah,
we
absolutely.
really
Yeah.
have to, and I really am grateful because I'm a conservative. I call myself a conservative. I claim the Republican Party for the most part, even though I lean libertarian. There's just certain beliefs that I have that I'd be considered part of the Mises Caucus, but you being the Libertarian Party chair. And Benjamin really identifies more as a libertarian too, I think.
I'm a Republican. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't claim a party, but Libertarian
really.
Party chair.
Conservative.
We really, Benjamin and I will say, want to see a third party candidate. We want to hear that reasonable, rational, middle third voice. And so the more that we can promote the Libertarian Party, especially in a place like Vermont, where, you have a real shot at actually speaking to the voters, and getting some traction. I think that if the Libertarian Party can just get it together and not focus on the dumb issues that divide them, they could do some real damage in this country. And, I think it's the same problem with the Republican Party, so I'm not giving, you guys any more crap than I give my own party, right? But
We claim you, Erica. You're a libertarian. Sorry. You're actually a libertarian. You can be conservative and be libertarian. You can be more like liberal in a way and be, like socially liberal and be libertarian. We just believe in
because I'm a liberal.
That's right. We just believe that our basic principle is like we don't believe, that people have the right to aggress others to impose their will. We
That's
believe
right.
in, cooperation and voluntarism. And we believe that the state should be as minimal as possible so that like you can live your life and solve issues like with your neighbors and friends and figure that out and have a free market. So
Yep.
that's what libertarianism is. I don't know what republicanism is. I don't know what democraticism is. To me, they're really both the same wings of the same bird because they're both just vying to be who's the big government, big shot at the same
Yeah.
time.
No, I
And
think
in
that's
all
a really good
honesty,
point.
libertarians, we're radical. We're not the middle voice. We're radical because freedom is radical. And the idea that, self-governance and getting away from the government having so much control of your life is a radical idea nowadays. So we are radical and it sounds weird, but
I
when you
love
come
it.
hang out with us at like festivals, when you come like conversate with us like in different things, it's like, yeah, that sounds like normal. It does because it is human nature. Socialism and authoritarianism, whether it's on the right or on the left, centralized control of the economy, of politics, of your social life, that's not human nature. That's why we're always like, ugh, why do we have so much, dissent? Why do we have so much, conflict? Why are there so much issues? Because this is not normal for people. The normal
Yeah.
state of people is to be free. And to work together because that's when natural cooperation happens. So you're a libertarian and you're a libertarian. I bet a lot of folks out there are libertarian, they don't know about it. We're up against the duopoly, we're up against the corpocracy. So you're going to hear a lot of fake stuff about libertarians and that we're this or we're that. And,
Yep.
come speak with us, come hang out, go check out your local, go to lp.org, go check out like your local state affiliate, see what they're up to, check out what your county party is up to, ask
Yep.
questions.
And go to
And just,
libertystock.org.
go to
Come
Liberty
see
Stock,
us.
listen to the Latina Libertarian podcast. It's on Rumble as well. And,
We'll
just
drop the
like
link in there.
these are different ideas, but they're solutions that actually make a lot of sense.
Amen. I think that's where we put a pin in this conversation tonight. Benjamin, you got anything else to say?
I have nothing else to add to any of that. That was
That
very
was
well put.
amazing. That was such a good explanation. I love
Gotta
it.
do the pit.
I love it. Y'all come see us September 2nd, right? September 2nd?
Yes, Saturday, September 2nd, Cabot,
Liberty
Vermont. Go to
Stock.
libertystock.org, get your tickets. There's camping available. It's beautiful, 90 plus acres in the heart of Cabot, Vermont, which is one of the most beautiful spots. Really,
I love
really
it.
beautiful. Yeah.
We're going to see y'all there. We're going to see y'all there. Ben and I will be there. So for all of the folks who have been like, oh my God, why you been in Texas all summer? Oh my God. Come see a darker perspective, the Lord, Benjamin Reddick, and I at Liberty Stock on September 2nd. Y'all have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
You're not going to do it?